My name is Rose Bookbinder, and I'm a co-director of the Pioneer Valley Worker Center, along with...
My name is Heather LePen, and I'm co-director of the Pioneer Valley Worker Center. I'm an organizer, I do communications, and I'm on the leadership team.
So the Pioneer Valley Worker Center was launched just over a year ago here in Western Mass. It was a community effort with labor unions, progressive organizations, community groups, individuals, restaurant workers, and other community allies in an effort to create a space to incubate organizing for low-wage and immigrant workers across Western Mass.
My first restaurant job was fresh pasta in summer 2008. I worked 2 shifts and then quit. The chef at the time was very abusive. He threw a cast iron pan that narrowly missed my head. He was also really sexist, and he was a bit of a sexual harasser.
Entonces en lo que yo agarré el vaso, lo levanté, me corté todo esto de acá. De repente, seguramente yo no soy bueno para ver sangre o para ver mi misma sangre. Y pues cuando vi mi sangre me puse todo blanco, todo pálido. ¿Entiendes? Mi primo me dice, ¿qué te pasa? Le digo, "Oh, pues me corté, yo no puedo trabajar así". Y ellos dicen, no, pero tienes que trabajar. Y fue un día viernes que es bien ocupado. Ellos puse la mano en hielo para ver si se me calmaba. Me puse una venda y guantes, pero no, la sangre seguía avanzando y el dolor. Yo no me consentía que podía trabajar, pero pues mi jefe decía, no, tú tienes que trabajar, o sea, en otras palabras, me obligaron pues. Me dijo, ve, pon los vasos y te regresas. Y pues lo peor de todo fue que me gritó. Cuando venía para la cocina, él venía detrás de mí, como casi como empujándome, apúrate, así. Y pues cuando entramos a la cocina me gritó. O sea, me dijo palabras no adecuadas, eso no fueron palabras de una persona educada. Yo ya entendí un poco el inglés. Entonces me dijo, y si no te gusta, pues vete de aquí. Entonces le dije yo, pues me voy.
At the Pioneer Valley Worker Center, we feel excited that we have opportunities to be creative about the ways that we bring workers into the center, and we have done that through various different ways. This past winter, we actually had an indoor soccer team with food system workers. So we had farm workers and restaurant workers and grocery store workers on a soccer team together, and it was a lot of them played soccer, so it was a great way to bring together that community and as a team, and that was a great community building effort. We also at our launch we had a art opening with restaurant workers that are artists to show their work, to really demonstrate to the community that while restaurant work is very valued and should be very respected work, these workers are also parents and sisters and grandparents and artists, and so we wanted to show the many different ways that restaurant workers operate in our community, and one way is through their art.
We've hosted some Know Your Rights at Work trainings, some health and safety trainings.
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for new ways to bring workers in and get excited. Not every worker is motivated by making change in the workplace. Some might be motivated by creating more of a community, and then our intention is to then always figure out a way to talk about what kinds of issues they face in the workplace. So while we might be just playing on a soccer team or having an art show, we also are talking about the issues that workers face in the workplace and strategizing together about how we can make change together.
I think that there should be a sick time pool. I think that if someone gets sick on the job, I've gotten stomach viruses at work, which is I'm ServSafe certified. That is a no-no, and stayed at work. I've had colds. I've had everything. And stayed because I needed the money, or because I didn't feel like it was, worth it to bother trying to get someone to come in for me. And that is dangerous to public health.
Some sort of collective system in place for people coming into the industry here in Northampton, because I know a lot of the places here hire high school students often as their first job in the industry. They don't realize that the jobs they're going into are bad workplace environments. They think that that's just what it is, and I know that this is my experience. I didn't realize until I got to know my coworkers better that, oh yeah, this isn't how this should be working.
Personally, for me, there's the overtime issue. I'm sure that there's a lot of restaurants in the area that are not paying time and a half at least. At Harold, it's been a huge issue before it happens, and I've been told so many times, you can't work more than 40 hours, which I gather is legal. But then if I do, because somebody else got sick or closing took longer and I worked half an hour overtime, I was just racked with this like fear, like, are they going to fire me for this? That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. That is ridiculous. And I know that. And I knew that at the time, but when you're an employee at will, that's a huge problem.
I went up and I set a meeting and asked her for a raise, fully expecting to be denied one. But what I wasn't expecting was the reasoning she gave for that. She just completely straight-faced told me that the store had not been making any money for the past several months, and that neither she nor the co-owner had cashed any paychecks for the past month, and they were just trying to catch up with their profits, and that was the reason that she couldn't pay me. And I knew that this was just a complete lie. I was not paid overtime working at Harold's. I have pay stubs that show quite clearly that I worked overtime and was not paid for it throughout my time there. So that's one issue, following the laws that are in place now and paying employees a living wage.
Los demás tienen que ser conscientes que nosotros somos humanos, no somos una máquina. Tú sabes que una máquina la pones a trabajar mientras le estés poniendo lo necesario. Ella te está trabajando noche, día, y días, meses, años, y ella sigue ahí. Hasta que va a llegar un momento, obviamente, donde se va a fundir o va a necesitar un cambio. Pues en este caso, los humanos pues sentimos más cansados, más rápido. Necesitamos reposo también, qué sé yo, despejarnos, salir un poco de lo común, porque a veces estar solo enfocado en el trabajo, como que uno no se siente como liberal, ¿me entiendes? Te sientes estresado, estar viendo lo mismo, como dicen, las mismas paredes, que las mismas cosas, las mismas personas. A veces salir, qué sé yo, como a caminar, o ir a algún lugar, distraerte, conocer nuevas personas, platicar, conversar, como que eso te ayuda a olvidarte.
Well, I think the thing with sexual harassment at Harold's is that the HR department is the owner. And when Steve was still in charge, the HR department is his business partner slash ex-wife, who he does not get along with. And then when it's her husband who's doing the sexual harassing, you don't really want to go to her. So I think if there were some kind of it just seems like there's ways to deal with something very, very locally within the business, and then there's ways to legally take action.
Bill of Rights and what you're hoping to accomplish and stuff like that.
The Restaurant Worker Bill of Rights was an idea that that a bartender had who came to several of our committee meetings, and we were talking about the challenges that these workers are facing in their various workplaces. He suggested that we need a Restaurant Worker Bill of Rights. So this has been a very worker-led campaign. It's still kind of in its infant stages, but basically the Restaurant Worker Bill of Rights is a way to talk about maybe the best practices used in restaurants in the Valley, or maybe even just
the basic laws.
The basic
really.
laws
Yeah.
that often aren't being followed. So it kind of seems a little bit silly to say, hey, we have this Restaurant Worker Bill of Rights, and on it is that you have to pay minimum wage and you have to pay your workers overtime, and you can't sexually harass your workers, and you have to provide a safe and healthy workplace. But the reality is that for a lot of workers, if their employers follow the law, that would be a huge step forward.
So it seems like if there was some kind of middle ground, like middle sort of management, like an HR department for the restaurant industry, that works with whatever organized restaurant worker association, and also works with business owners. So,
Okay.
outside investigation.
Primeramente, si yo fuera un encargado de un restaurante, primeramente, o sea, brindarle mi apoyo a los trabajadores, o sea, hacerles sentir a ellos, o sea, transmitirle que ellos se sientan bien conmigo, que tengan confianza y yo tener confianza hacia ellos. Esa es la primera. O sea, que haya comunicación, buena comunicación. Sé que van a haber problemas o discusiones, tal vez por cosas que no vienen al caso, ¿me entiendes? Pero son cosas que pasan a menudo en restaurantes. Y la otra cosa sería ayudarles en lo que yo pueda.
The people who are younger, who are just getting into this, like when I see like a 17-year-old like be made to cry when she's getting trained for something because the manager's so like harsh and just not good with people, like I feel like it's doing that for people like her and for the next generation of young restaurant workers who don't really know what their rights are, just sort of figuring out who they are. And it would be good to have something in place, so it's like not just me talking to some girl in the freezer and being like, it's not okay for someone to talk to you like that. Yeah.
Raising wages for restaurant employees in Northampton will not only improve the lives of workers here, but also improve the general culture and industry that these restaurants are trying to foster with their public image and what they're doing. Because if employees are paid more, they're going to care more about their work. I know I got to a point where I would not care about trying to be friendly to customers because I knew that because I was stuck at work and I hated being there. And that's certainly not what Judy Harrow wants, but she's just not, she and other employers I'm sure just are too greedy to make it happen.